Before we dive right in and talk about taming your imposter monster, I want to back up and I want to talk a little bit about the difference between doubt and imposter syndrome. So I want you to actually take a moment and in your workbook, or just sit back and reflect, what is the difference in your mind between doubt and imposter syndrome? So I want to talk a little bit about what I believe the difference is between doubt and imposter syndrome. And let's just talk about imposter syndrome. So this term, the imposter phenomenon, imposter syndrome, was coined in 1978 by Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes. And what they were doing is they were undertaking a study of reports of why women kept reporting that they felt like they'd been lucky, or that they'd be found out, or they get to these places and these tables and they feel like they simply don't belong, when they had all the evidence to the contrary. They've had success, they have degrees. What was happening that made them feel these feelings that like they were imposter and they didn't truly belong there? Flash forward to where we're at today. All this term has become, much more popular, but one of the things that I continue to wonder is, are we confusing everyday doubt with imposter syndrome? Because I think it's really important to remember that doubt is a healthy human emotion. In fact, many of my clients say that incredible bouts of doubt preceded some of their best events, some of their best promotions, some of their best ideas, some of their best steps forward. One of the things I think we really overlook about doubt is that doubt keeps us humble and curious and connected. I've been public speaking and I've been a corporate trainer for almost 20 years. And to this day, I will go on stage. I want you to know that this morning when I was getting ready to record these videos for this session, I felt doubt. Why? Because a good experience matters to me, because I care, because I want people to learn something from what I have to say. And if I didn't feel doubt, that would probably be a problem, right? Have you ever talked with someone, or have you ever listened to a presenter who clearly had no doubt in anything that they were ever saying? We all have, right? It's kind of hard to listen to. And one of the things I lovingly remind my clients is that many of them know that I am a true crime fan, and that every Friday night, my husband and I have a Dateline date night. And so we are always watching, the latest in true crime and criminals. There are people in this world who don't feel doubt, and they're on Dateline on Friday night. They probably could have benefited from a little more doubt. And so I use that humor to remind us that doubt is just a normal, healthy human emotion. It keeps us connected and humble and curious. But I think that there was a woman in one of my leadership programs who really articulated the difference best. And she said, yeah, doubt is normal. We're all going to feel it when we stretch our comfort zones. But where imposter syndrome comes in is when it's continuous self-sabotage. We don't apply for jobs that we're fully qualified for because we believe that we don't belong or we're going to be found out. We don't ask for the full salary we deserve because we've made up some sort of story that because we don't possess all of the qualifications, we deserve a lower amount. It's continuing to not promote ourselves, not advocate for ourselves, not put ourselves in the rooms where decisions are made, because we have this belief that we need one more certification, one more piece of education, one more degree before we are actually qualified. And so that systemic level of doubt that continues to hold us back is how I see imposter syndrome show up in the workplace. One of the things that's really important is that doubt and imposter syndrome, yes, it's something we feel ourselves. But I also believe that this is a both-and issue. I believe, and as I mentioned in the introduction of this book, that one of the reasons why women lack confidence in the workplace is because so many women can't look up and see themselves in leadership. They can't see themselves using healthy self-advocacy and being successful at that next level. A lot of the situations that create imposter syndrome are systemic. And they come from individuals not seeing themselves in rooms where decisions are made, not seeing themselves doing those types of roles or careers. And there's some really interesting new data that's coming out about imposter syndrome. Now, the statistic says that 70% of people have reported feeling imposter syndrome. My little anecdote to that is I actually believe that 70% of people admit to feeling imposter syndrome. I have a hunch that a lot more people feel it. But what the new research has showed is that imposter syndrome is more likely to be felt when people have experienced racial discrimination, when people work in organizations where brilliance is prized above all else, and when they work in a type of role where they are expected to be stereotyped based on their gender. So one of the things that I think is really important when we talk about imposter syndrome, and before we keep going, is to recognize that the causes are both individual. Yes, we have some things to work on internally, but they're also systemic. And we need to continue to address the systemic issues that keep us from seeing ourselves and keep us from seeing equal representation of people like us in the workforce. Because I think once we see more people who look like us, that sense of belonging will come along with it. And so in the next video, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the frameworks that you can use that will tap into, not just different things you need to think about, but really addressing your head, your heart, and your whole body so that you can work better with doubt and imposter syndrome when it comes to visit you. Because if you're a normal, healthy human being, I promise that if you're stretching your comfort zone, it's probably on its way.